Okay, we're rolling.
Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. It's Dave with you. Hope you're doing well. So I got an email from a good podcasting buddy of mine, Joshua Hess, and his podcast is Oh, That's a Fact. And you should check it out. Link in the show notes for Josh. It's a great podcast, great person as well. He sent me an email, and in it was something from a website called PodSnacks. And it's like this kind of outline of one of my episodes that he forwarded to me. It's like, hey, look at this. Check this out. Here's your episode featured via PodSnacks. And I'm like, what the heck is PodSnacks? So here's what the email read. I just put it into voicemaker.in to give me a voice to read it to you. But this is the summary that came back to me about one of the past episodes of the How to Podcast series from Joshua forwarding it to me. And as I read through this, I'm like, oh, this is really good. So here's what the summary said from PodSnacks. Here we go. Here's what it said.
The great media migration from MTV to your podcast feed. In a twist of cultural irony, MTV, the network that built an empire on music videos, shut down last week while Spotify simultaneously rolled out music videos on its platform. This isn't just nostalgia fuel, it's a snapshot of how visual storytelling has migrated from cable boxes to the apps we carry everywhere. For podcasters, this shift raises a critical question. Should you be thinking about video too? The answer isn't as simple as yes or no. According to the How to Podcast series, many podcast educators don't even realize that Apple Podcasts has supported video through RSS feeds for years. It's just never been heavily promoted. Meanwhile, Spotify's growing dominance among younger listeners, who prefer one app for music and podcasts, makes ignoring the platform a risky strategy, even if some podcasting purists dismiss it. The visual listening paradox. Here's the thing about video podcasts. Most people aren't actually watching them. They're engaging in what's being called visual listening, playing video content in the background while multitasking, only glancing up when something catches their attention. It's audio consumption with occasional visual check-ins. This hybrid behavior explains why video is gaining traction without replacing traditional audio podcasts. But there's a technical trap creators need to avoid. When you upload both audio and video versions of an episode to Spotify, the platform defaults to video and extracts audio from that file, completely ignoring your carefully edited audio track. The solution? Maintain separate feeds for audio and video content to preserve your analytics and quality. Your video strategy doesn't need a Hollywood budget. The beauty of podcasting? No gatekeepers, no rules. Story-based podcasts, sleep podcasts, and narrative series thrive without video. Interview shows often benefit from seeing faces and reactions. The choice should depend on your content type, audience needs, and resources, not arbitrary industry pressures. If you do want to experiment with video, start small. A webcam or smartphone works fine for basic setups. You can also add video strategically through highlight clips, social media shorts, or simple talking head formats rather than committing to full video episodes right away. Fueling the content machine. Whether you're doing audio, video, or both, consistent content creation requires a constant flow of ideas. The secret? Stay alert to inspiration from everywhere. Podcasts, audiobooks, movies, music, random conversations. The How to Podcast series host keeps a system of cardboard notes, emails, and digital folders to capture concepts the moment they strike, building a reserve to draw from when the creative well runs dry. Video is growing, but it's not mandatory. The platforms are evolving to give creators more options, not fewer. Choose what serves your content and audience best. Start with what you can manage and iterate from there.
So there you go. That was my summary of my episode. Pretty interesting. So what is PodSnacks? Like, what is this thing? It's an AI-generated podcast summary tool that transcribes and summarizes the podcasts that you need for work so you can skim what matters and listen only to the best episodes. It's PodSnacks, plural.com is the website, link in the notes as always. And when you go there, you can sign up for free. They have a free plan, and it helps you. So you can stay on top of markets and trends. You can skim AI summaries in minutes instead of hours of listening. It's built for founders, investors, and operators who treat podcasts like research. It's like your daily podcast brief. Every morning you get a curated summary of the latest episodes. What I like about this is you can upload a CSV file, which is like Excel talk. You can upload a CSV file of all your contacts from your emails, people who've signed up for your emails. Don't just grab people's random emails and do this, but you can upload your contact lists from email, and you can then send out this summary to your email subscribers, and it has links to that episode of your show and all that, and you can then blast out updates from your podcast. It's pretty amazing. So I'm playing with it right now. And I posted on Instagram and I shared it that I've really I love the fact that they featured my episode. So I shared it, I tagged them, and when they reached back out to thank me for posting, I said, I would love to have you guys on the podcast and talk more about PodSnacks because it's cool and I'm enjoying playing with it and I'd love to have time with somebody. So I got them. I got the creator of PodSnacks to come on the show, and Shimon was on, and the two of us talked podcasting, talked about PodSnacks. Shimon is in Israel, and he came on, and we had a great conversation. So I'm going to break it up a little bit and kind of come back and talk to you during what we discussed and share a little bit more. But here's a quick chat with Shimon from PodSnacks and what we talked about his cool platform. Here we go. Can you give us a little background on PodSnacks? Like, where did this come from before we jump into kind of more about the tool?
Sure. PodSnacks started during COVID in like 2020. A previous girlfriend of mine, she and I were in COVID, and she thought about restarting a blog. And the software tool Substack existed. And she was like, I want to tell people about the health and wellness podcast that I like listening to. And I said to her, I was like, look, it's a good idea. The challenge is that how do you make a business of it? Just telling people about health and wellness podcasts. And we realized that there was a lot of people like myself who were talking about climate change. And we said, let's cover the climate industry. And she, for almost 2 or 3 years, listened to podcasts regularly. And she would listen to a podcast, extract the best quotes. This was all done manually. And then send out a list, almost like a top 10 list of here's the top 10 podcasts or top 25 podcasts that we listened to this week. And she would do this by hand and extract a quote and then write it up. And she bootstrapped this mailing list till about 3,000 people or so were getting this email. And it was obviously specific just to climate. It wasn't any podcast. And it was all done manually. So you only had so many that could be done. And it was very time intensive. So
you get the idea. You create this platform. You get people signing up through email for notifications. It's very organic. It seems like something that could easily, anybody could do, to build this, but nobody was. And a great way to do a top 10 list. I like that idea. That's a good concept. So where do you go from here?
We looked at scaling this actually and saying, okay, what about if we hired some manual workers in a place like the Philippines through a business processing outsource unit that could do this at scale? And the cost was just so prohibitively expensive to transcribe every episode.
Right.
And this was in a world prior to ChatGPT being launched. And that's what changed everything for us. When we saw ChatGPT get launched about 3 years ago in November timeframe, we saw it and realized, wow, this is actually what could help build an application like this. The ability to have Cliff's Notes, let's just call it, of any podcast out there and decide if you want to spend more time listening to it or just get the top quotes from it.
So you create this thing. I love this. And and you kind of build your own model. And now that there's AI tools, the transcription costs are lower. So that's interesting too, because I know that as podcasters, we're always dealing with transcriptions and the cost of transcriptions and all of that as well. As a creator, we pay for all that. So I'm glad to see that the AI tools helped offset the cost, right, to make this thing a reality. And there's so many podcasts right now. So you've kind of created your own world. I love this.
The reason being is there's so many podcasts, and I think this industry is going to continue to grow, almost like each one is its own TV show or TV channel.
Yeah.
And there was no way to really parse through all of this information, know what's relevant to me, and make it just super easy for us to know like exactly which podcast to listen to or which one can I get some good information out of.
So you created the idea, you understand the process, but then you have to build the tool. So take us behind the scenes, under the hood. What's going on here, and how does PodSnacks really work?
So the software tool really like took hold when we now had AI via an API, the ability as a software developer. That's what I do. I build the product, to be able to literally say, okay, ChatGPT, listen to this episode, listen to Dave's listen to every time he releases a podcast, summarize it and send me an email, like an instant notification. And that way I can get like the key highlights. Yeah. And if I want to listen to it, the listening link is provided right in that email. And it's almost like creating my own daily news source. So that's how it started. And I know one of your listeners forwarded it to you.
It came through, and I'm looking at it going, this is such a great summary, like broken down into paragraphs, headings, a takeaway, like everything that I wanted from that episode in a great, like bite-sized chunk that really gave you the essence of the episode without having to listen to the whole thing. And clickable links to the podcast as well, which I really like. And that episode was just simply talking about the fact that MTV was closing down in the U.S., and that Spotify was almost at the exact same time bringing in video, music videos into the platform. So it's like one closed, the other one started. And it's like this weird timing for the two to happen, because everybody talks about Spotify being audio only. But here's Spotify making moves in video, adding music videos to their platform. I just found it ironic that MTV was leaving as Spotify announced they have music videos. So that was the episode that Josh sent to me from PodSnacks, and it was just so cool to see the write-up about what I said on my show. That's
so true. I did notice that in Spotify, there's a lot more music videos now, like switched to video mode, and that did not. And I didn't connect that at the same time.
And yeah, that's right. And the other thing too is just podcasts are becoming like the go-to place for information, for news, all of that. And the idea of having a brief is similar to the woman in the tube, which we won't say, so don't spark somebody's device. But yeah, people love having those quick flash news bites, things that just catch you in the moment, something quick that they can ingest and take with them. And yeah, that's what I love about what you do at PodSnacks.
Yeah, and what's missing is like, let's just take the New York Times. The New York Times was the place that back in the, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, the newspapers were the masthead and the reporter. But like something happened in journalism where there was some weird power dynamic with journalists that I think got really out of whack. And it was not about truth. And then with the ad models of monetization, clicks, we're just seeing all this like junk. I know I don't really care for the term fake news, but it's like junk news. Let's just call it that. It's just like, it's just garbage, and it's not actual reporting. And at the same time, this past couple weeks, whether someone agrees with this type of reporting or not, what Nick Shirley did with Minnesota just showed everybody that the news channels have changed.
Mm-hmm. So the news that used to belong to the big news reporters can now be reported on by anybody with a phone or a computer, any of that stuff. You could be a one-person team and change everything just by being boots on the ground. And everyone's got a voice in podcasting. That's what I really love. Just the access that we have to create the news.
Or you and me, a microphone and a computer.
Right.
So So we see PodSnacks as this almost like a masthead to connect readers, like your reader who wants to listen to your episode but might have 25 other shows that they want to keep tabs on,
Yeah.
and they don't know which one's the best one. They only got 24 hours in a day. And at the same time, you as well, like what our host tool does is hosts upload their CSV, their contacts list, and we, for free for that host, send out an email for them that says, let's just say you have 500 contacts. Like, Dave just dropped a new show. Here's the main highlights. It doesn't replace listening to the entire podcast, but it gives them that incentive that if they might not have listened to it, now they want to, or at least they got the information about it if they would have missed it altogether. And then if they do want to listen to it, the ability to click through, and then you get the information as well as like how many emails were sent on your behalf, how many people click through. And it's just like a great way that we hope will continue for a host to like help improve their engagement, help people like get connected to their show and build their audience.
And that's the part too that I think podcasters really struggle with is building that audience, having access to your audience. It's very hard to get people engaged with the show and have communication back and forth. We talk, we record, we put it out there, but it's crickets, right? So that whole idea we've talked about in the past on podcasting about owning your audience, and I think that's what PodSnacks does really well. That's really cool.
It's like when a host uploads their contacts, if somebody subscribes to your show through PodSnacks, you get that email address. And this is something that Spotify nor Apple, they don't do. And I think we're about to enter the era of like hosts really owning their audience. And right now, you don't, if you have someone subscribe to you on Apple, you don't own your audience. The platform does.
Right. I
think that's a big disruption that could happen.
So is this like something that complements what a traditional RSS feed would be, how the podcast gets out to the community, to all the listening apps? Does this kind of go alongside what a traditional RSS feed would do for podcasters?
It's almost like RSS 2.0. So what we did is we are at the application layer, which means thankfully we work with people who build APIs, automatic programming interfaces, and we build an application utilizing those. So we have an API that helps us find all the podcasts in the database that's out there. That's one API. We have an API to help transcribe the speech to text, which is obviously a bulk of our cost. Then we have an API for artificial intelligence like Claude or OpenAI to analyze and summarize. And then we have an email provider that sends you an email on our behalf. And we kind of like assembled all those puzzle pieces together as an application and then figure out a business model that helps that thing make it sustainable and grows. So that's how it works.
So it's adjacent to RSS. It complements RSS. It's not a replacement for RSS. So that's good to hear. So it's nice to see how PodSnacks works along with what's already established. Okay, that's good.
It's not RSS because RSS is actually like its own like protocol. It's its own communication layer. This is directly to your email, and it doesn't require using any different application. Another thing is we thought about adding like text message delivery. If you want to read your digest on your phone, why not just send you an SMS? And we can do that very easily and programmatically. So that way, you drop a new episode, the person gets a text message with, if that's what they want, of the highlights, and then they can click through to see the full summary or transcript or listen to the episode. So we really don't see, it's more like an RSS 2.0 than on the actual RSS itself. And that's because I think in today's world of people not downloading new applications, we kind of have to reach people on the applications that they already have on their phone.
So before we jumped into our recording today, you kind of walked me through getting myself set up on PodSnacks, which was pretty straightforward or pretty simple. You'd mentioned that you could see my podcast on Apple, and that was easy to verify who I was, and you did it really quickly for me, which was great. But that's because I'm on Apple through an RSS feed. Now, I talk to podcasters who are only on YouTube with a podcast. They're not on Apple, they're not on Spotify, they're not on Audible. They're not released as an RSS feed. They're only on YouTube specifically. Would PodSnacks work for a podcast that's only on only on YouTube, but not on all the other audio players, just YouTube by itself? Would PodSnacks work for them?
No.
So you need an RSS feed.
You really get, yeah. And also just like my suggestion is like someone like myself, I pay for YouTube Premium because I like the ability to close the YouTube application and still listen, but many people don't. So my recommendation to anyone who is only publishing to YouTube is they're missing the entire ecosystem of Spotify and Apple.
Yeah.
And the API that we built is based off of Apple's ecosystem because they're just so major in the industry. So if they are only publishing on YouTube, they need to use something like Buzzsprout that publishes, I'm sure there's a host of these tools, that's the one I know of, that publishes to multiple platforms and makes it super simple and creates their podcast store account. And then our application works seamlessly once they're on Apple. So yeah. That's how it is.
Okay. The other thing, too, that I hear from podcasters all the time, and I don't know if this will be something down the road that you might consider, is we don't have a really simple way of seeing our comments or our reviews or ratings. So I know in Spotify, you can leave a comment in the episode, but if we don't know to go to Spotify to check and see if we have a comment, we have no idea if there's any comments left. And then for Apple, we have no vision to all the different Apple stores all around the globe. Right. So we have no idea if somebody left us a review in India and we're in Canada. We have no, unless we go to that specific one, there's no really way to do that. Is there any way to kind of leverage your connections through these platforms for what you're doing today, for maybe future?
That's a novel idea. Thank you for the feedback. I have not heard about that because I don't have a show myself, although I have thought about starting one as a result of this. Yeah. And that's a great idea. I will look into that and to see if it's possible that in like a weekly roundup newsletter for the host, in addition to their statistics, let's just say they send out 1,000 emails. Hey, you also got 5 comments. That would be really useful to those podcast hosts, I imagine. So thank you for that idea. I'll look into it.
Yeah, it's a great value add. And then also, if we had like 2 or 3 people sign up through PodSnacks for us as well. Again, that's kind of a summary that comes to us maybe weekly or monthly, so we can kind of see how we're growing our audience through PodSnacks.
Yeah, well. that is in the dashboard.
Okay.
Not like it's not separated into new users versus your current account. You can see the growth, and we haven't added some charts, but we will be focusing. Our primary development was on like the consumer side. The person who myself might be subscribing to. I subscribe to 140 podcasts through PodSnacks. Which is something you wouldn't be able to do on your phone.
No.
You wouldn't be able to keep up with all of that.
Right.
And so building out more host tools is something that I definitely plan to do, and that's great feedback.
So for the users then, we talk about a lot of host features. What about user features? Anything else we missed? Anything else that we want to make sure we capture that PodSnacks does well for the user, the end user?
One of the features I just want to say on the consumer side, another thing that we do is if you subscribe to something like 10 podcasts, okay, you can get these like one-off instant notifications. There's a bell notification that gets sent. I subscribe to 140. We also have a feature where the AI will basically write me a digest, just like you saw based off of one, based off of those 140 sources. So it's almost like, you know how the president of the United States gets a daily news briefing prepared for? Right. It's literally a briefing based on these sources that are being put into the AI.
Oh, this is really interesting. I like this. Is this available around the world right now? Certain countries? How far is the reach for PodSnacks?
It's available around the globe. We currently only serve in English, so we will be adding translation. Let's just say there's a Chinese podcast and I don't speak Chinese and I want to know what's going on, or there's something in Europe in a different language. I could then understand it in my language or vice versa. Yeah. And then another feature that we want to add too is, just like in traditional news, there are opinions. Not everything's just fact. There's the range of the political spectrum. The LLMs themselves also have a quote political spectrum. Right. Surprisingly, whether that application is run by Elon Musk in Grok or Claude, you actually see there's reporting about this, like a political bias. And regardless, like I think my thing is whether someone's left or right is not the point. someone should be able to choose which LLM they want to summarize their news. And right now we're just built on top of Claude, but we will be adding in the ability for a user to change their LLM to whatever model they want, including like an open source model, which are actually very good models out of China. But that person can choose whichever model they want. Because I do believe, I mean, I'm an American citizen. There's free, like the free market, in my opinion, is the best kind of authoritative figure on what the right thing is to do for the end consumer. So I want people to be able to choose which LLM they use to summarize their news.
It's nice that you have the option for choice. That's good, because not every platform allows for us to make choices like that. That's good. The other part too is the different languages. I know here in Canada, French and English are both official languages. The US, we've got, English, obviously, and then Spanish and all the other languages that are also represented. So anytime that we can get into more languages, I think that'd be really helpful for the end user as well and open the doors for even more. So that's really good.
Do most of your listeners, do you know most of them? I mean, you don't, do you transcribe to French?
I don't, but I probably should.
But that would be useful, you're saying.
It's a global audience for me, right? So I have people all around the world. So, but yeah, if I have anything Canadian content-wise, I really need to have some kind of French version as well. But
and do you see, do you think YouTube's going to, I mean, I have to imagine YouTube will be dubbing podcasts on their platform or something.
There's talk about that, yeah, and putting it in native languages for those different countries so they can hear. So,
right. I mean, and also YouTube's connected to Gemini, right? Yeah. So one of the questions I get all the time is why wouldn't, Gemini do this? And the point is Gemini's connected to YouTube, but ChatGPT is not connected to anything. Claude's not connected to anything. Facebook, they have their own AI. They're not connected to anything. The Chinese versions of these models are not. So it's really I feel like people will use AI depending on which application they're in. If they're in Gmail, they'll use Gemini. Yeah. If they're on their phone talking to an app, they'll ask ChatGPT. So it's a constantly evolving industry, and I'm most curious to see what YouTube does. But just YouTube is not enough to back to the prior question about Apple platform. It is still a huge platform out there.
So
for podcasts,
your AI tool is pulling from the audio, creating a transcript, right?
Right.
So would you ever consider for podcasters a level up or an option to buy our transcripts from you? Because right now, I know I'm paying somebody else for a transcript. But if I could pay PodSnacks as part of my big plan, I'd much rather pay you than pay somebody else to do the exact same thing you're doing.
I didn't think about it that way. I actually, God willing, I hope it's that we pay you. Because you're the content creator, and YouTube pays YouTubers, right? They're one of the best in the industry. The idea being is it's your content, right? You created the transcript. Right. It was your voice, and we're a really small startup in that we have tens of thousands of users. Thank God, we're growing. Yeah. But I would like it that the transcript is content that was created by the podcast host, and we could say, hey, we want to do a rev share when we can get to some meaningful point. We can help, because I think that's what I had said before about owning the audience. That's what bothers me the most, is that the podcast creators are started as the little people, the little guy, so to speak, and now they just have no leverage. And YouTube's the best at this, because I think they know that those creators make it grow, but they have so much leverage that there's no guarantee necessarily that they would keep going like that. So I think competition is much needed. So I mean, we could sell the transcript, but I actually think there's a lot more value if we say, hey, the cost of producing that transcript is really not that much. And if you have enough listeners that are listening or reading, and we can serve an advertisement to help monetize a free newsletter to them, then why wouldn't we do a rev share if we can monetize the ad with a display ad?
Yeah, because right now that's a line item cost for us to pay for somebody else to transcribe right now. So I would much rather recoup that cost that I'm paying some other service, and again funnel it back to you and support you what you're doing, because you've already got the transcript. It's like I have two different places, both pulling the transcript.
Well, I mean,
right?
You can go click on every episode and get the transcript from PodSnacks, provided that you subscribe. So any host that's on here should go on and subscribe to their show, or like let anyone who's listening is like go on and add, request us to partner together to start managing their show through PodSnacks. They get the transcript, and I hope we can build a really great business that. Because like on the consumer side, the one challenge that like Netflix did is they basically dropped the price of subscriptions that consumers are willing to pay to like $15, right? Because like if you've got all of the movies in the world available on Netflix for $15, why are you going to pay $55 for some AI service?
Yeah.
It's really, really challenging, and like everything, it's kind of like what Napster and all that whole music industry did. We're kind of in that world right now, and there's a big commoditization of like speech to text based content.
So for hosts, then, as we wrap up, I just want to make sure hosts understand kind of what it costs to be a part of PodSnacks as a host of a podcast. You talk a little bit about that before we head out?
Tool is free for hosts to upload their contacts and start managing their audience to our platform. And hopefully we'll continue to be able to make a big impact on the host. Thank you for the idea about the comments about what gets left on the host's various platform pages. We'll take a look at that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shimon, for being part of the show. Thank you for making time on the other side of the planet from where I am to come talk about PodSnacks. I'm getting hungry talking about snacks this whole time. So thank you for all that you do for podcasters and creating tools for us. It's so great to see new things coming to make podcasting better for us as creators. And I'm thrilled to have time with you and celebrate what you do and tell everybody about it. So again, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. What you were saying about supporting podcasters. I appreciate it.
Okay, everybody, podsnacks.com, links in the show notes. Go check it out. Go sign up. Bring in your list of contacts, emails, so that it'll go out. Make sure you got permission before you put anybody's email in, right? You've collected emails, right? You're collecting emails? Yes, good. Then this is a great companion. Maybe test it out on a few of your active listeners. Reach out to them in advance. Set it up. Try it. If you have any questions, reach out to me. Reach out to PodSnacks. I know they'd love to hear from you as well. And when you do so, when you connect it all up, share it on social. Let people know about PodSnacks, everybody. Please, share the word. Again, Shimon, thank you so much for being on the show. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Same to you. Take care.
So there you go, guys. I love finding these new tools, things that come across my desk, come to my emails through great people like Josh. Whatever it comes to me, I'm going to share with you. I'm encouraging you to try these things out. Give them a try. One thing I hear so much from podcasters is they're struggling for engagement. They're struggling for connection with their audience. They're like, how do I get more people to talk to me? What do I do? I got these emails. Now what do I do? Well, here's a great use for them. Here's a great excuse to set this up over on PodSnacks. They do have plans. Go over there, check them out. I'm right now just signed up under the free plan. So even if that's just your first start, go try PodSnacks, get it set up. You got some emails. You can even just test it with your friends and family. Just let them know that you're testing this out and get feedback from them on what they think of it as well before you roll it out to your community, however you want to do it. But great people over at PodSnacks. So definitely go check them out. Josh, again, thank you so much. Everyone go check out Oh, That's a Fact. Great podcast. A new podcaster. We need to support new podcasters, right? Right. Links in the show notes. Go check out his great show. And if you want to meet Josh in person, he's such a great, amazing person, good human being, come to our meetups. We do them all the time. And he's there, generally on Saturdays. Come and meet Joshua in our meetups. All information at howtopodcast.ca. PodSnacks. There you go. I'm going to go have a snack. Let's go. Hey, thanks for being part of the podcast today. Just a reminder, on February 13th to February 14th, we're going to do something a little different on the How to Podcast series. We're going to go and do 24 episodes in 24 hours, a marathon, self-imposed. We're going to create an episode every hour on the hour and release it over a 24-hour period. We're going to go live. We're going to do some live streaming. We're going to be live on social media. We're going to be live on LinkedIn and YouTube and a bunch of different things. So if you want to come along for the journey, and I know I have a global audience, so this might really work well for you to come and be a part of it. And when you go to bed on the 13th and wake up on the 14th, by around 10 a.m., 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, you will have 24 episodes in 24 hours from the How to Podcast series. Why am I doing this? Because I don't hear anybody else doing this, and I'm up for a challenge. So it's leading into Valentine's Day. It's leading into falling in love with your podcast for the month of February, all that stuff. So if you're interested and you want to see what's going to happen, 24 episodes in 24 hours with your buddy here, Dave, let's see anybody else kind of do this. I challenge you or anyone else who thinks they can do this to take up the gauntlet. And let's see if you can do 24 episodes in 24 hours. I triple dog dare you. I'm going to do it. And it's all part of our 365 days of content in 2026. So yeah, this should be fun. So if you want to stick around, you want to check it out, February 13th, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern, all the way through until completing at 11 a.m. Eastern on Saturday, the 14th, leading right into our meetup. We'd love to have you come along. Come check out the craziness, February 13th and 14th. Love to see you there. Cheers. Okay, so you're still here. Awesome. Great. I love giving new tools and new suggestions for you. But I also like hanging out with you after. So everyone else is already gone. Most people won't hear this part. Just you and me. The question came in, and this is where I like to do question and answers. Just a little bonus tip. Question came in to me, Dave, I updated my artwork for my podcast. New colors, new look, new feel. And when I look at my podcast and all the apps, it still has the old image. So what did I do wrong? Well, you didn't really do anything wrong. There's just one thing you need to change. When you upload your image, if it has the exact same file name, so let's make up a file name here, Dave001.jpg, whatever that is, like the file name for the actual image. Make sure the new image has a new file name. So it could be Dave 2026 because it's 2026, Dave2026.jpg, right? Instead of Dave0001.jpg. Change the file name. Some of these apps will take a little while. Some of these apps will never update. I have some old images of my podcast out there. And when I do a Google search for my podcast under images, I see these old pictures of the logo that I used to have. And I can't get rid of it. That's just the way it is. So most apps will update over time, as long as you update and put a different file name. That's the key. And make sure you update it in your hosting site. There's a spot in there for your podcast level where you show your hosting site information. The big idea, the big thing about your show, go in there, you'll see an image, update that image. And then when you upload your podcast episodes to your hosting site, sometimes there's a way for you to overwrite the image with the new image. So do that as well. And just monitor it for a little while, maybe a month. Make sure it's out there and everywhere. If you get stuck, you can always reach out to your hosting site, ask them to look into it. But the biggest thing is have a different file name for the actual artwork when you upload a new image. There you go. I wouldn't change it often because people know and love you for what your show looks like and they recognize it. So changing it often, you can change the episode artwork anytime you want. You could have episode artwork changes for every episode. Have at it. But I would keep your main title image for your show as familiar as possible. Don't go changing it every day. Just, people will look on their phone and know it's you when they see it. So there you go. If you have any questions, reach out. Thanks for sticking around. Take care. Bye.